There's been a lot of talk recently about what changes we might need to make in our lives if we're going to reach the government's targets, which are going to be toughened up, we understand, for cutting carbon emissions by 2025, 2030, and then maybe zero by 2050. So if you're thinking about buying a car, what should you do?
We got our first electric car purely to save money, and that's exactly what it does. Fuel has been one of the biggest savings. We used to spend just over £200 a month on petrol. Now we spend just over £20 a month on our electricity tariff. We have ridiculously low fuel bills, no car tax of course, and maintenance is also lower than the equivalent petrol car. Factor in really low depreciation, which is probably the biggest factor, and I genuinely believe we're saving a few £1,000s a year given the higher mileage we do. My work involves driving from site to site, sometimes with equipment. I can't use public transport because of that. My wife works night times, and in North Yorkshire there literally is no public transport, so we have to have a car. So we might as well have an electric one. Next year is definitely going to be a big year, maybe even the tipping point for electric vehicles. Ranges have practically doubled in the last few years alone and will carry on doing so for a while. So I genuinely think 2020 will be a big year for people looking in to getting their own electric vehicle.
Ban diesel cars by 2025 and petrol cars by 2030. By ban, do you mean that not that if you've got them you'd have to get rid of them, but that no more should be sold? Is that what you mean by a ban?
Exactly. And it's not just the Liberal Democrats saying in the UK.
No.
There are many other countries around the world now saying this, because we've got to give a very clear signal to the manufacturers that they've got to just produce electric vehicles. So I would like a car that I can use with my son that's electric, and it's not on the market at the moment. We need to try to make sure that the market is serving all the needs of all the people.
Price needs to come down, doesn't it? I mean, a Nissan Leaf, which I'm told is the best-selling electric car in Europe, it's still £28,000.
If you have it at scale, it'll do that. I mean, I was on a programme with you a few years ago.
You need scale.
Yeah, you need scale. Yeah. But I was on a programme with you a few years ago, Andrew, where you were complaining about the price of offshore wind. When we got that promoters, when I was Climate Change Secretary, the price of offshore wind has tumbled. So we're getting cheap green energy. If we have electric vehicles at scale, we'll have cheap green cars. This is the prize.
So we also need to increase people's access to good bus services.
We do, absolutely.
Because bus services in the London area are really very good, but you move anywhere outside of the big city and you're done for, really. You know, somebody quoted there, no bus after 7 o'clock. My sister used to live in an area, she says no good shops opening on Sunday, there's no bus on a Sunday.
If we're all going to be moving to electric cars, we're going to have to make sure that there's the electricity there.
Yeah, for sure.
Indeed, that's another issue.
If we're all plugging it in, well, there'd be no point moving to electric if it wasn't green.
Precisely.
If we're all plugging in at night, which used to be off-peak, that will no longer be off-peak. That may actually become the peak. We need to see the government's plans for making sure there is enough green power to power the cars. We haven't seen that yet, have we?
No. What happens by using electric cars is obviously it's centralising the energy production in some ways, rather than having each of the fossil fuel petrol stations pumping out to the cars. You can have a few power stations that are developing the energy that required for electricity. But nonetheless, in then moving that to renewable, to green energy, we've just seen the first week in 100 years when we've not had to burn any coal whatsoever.
When myself and my Liberal Democrat colleagues were in charge of energy and climate change, we quadrupled nearly green energy, renewable energy, and the contracts that have been produced with the green plants coming on in this Parliament were ones that I and my colleagues signed. I'm afraid the renewable energy has fallen off the cliff under the Conservatives in the last 2 years, and that's the problem for electric vehicles. We need to be expanding renewable energy, both because of climate change, because of tackling air pollution, and actually getting greener, cheaper energy and cheaper fuel for people. If we go down this route at speed, we can give cheaper bills for people and tackle climate change.